Hey family, it is so good to see you. We are back with family meetings. Today, we are talking about the heart of God. I think that hosting the presence or thinking about the heart of God is really important all the time, but especially when you are in a time that feels sometimes like crisis, that feels sometimes like stress. Remembering the heart of God, remembering how God feels about us and how we feel about Him can be difficult.
Yeah.
And so we want to take some time today and just really invite you into our process. How do we remember to focus on God, what He's saying, what He's doing, what He's emitting in the atmosphere right now in the midst of everything that's going on?
There's two things that we want to hit right off. First of all, we all have Starbucks, and we are enjoying it. Second of all, Liza and I would like to know how you actually got a real Starbucks, and we got something from the grocery store. How did that happen?
It's called a lack of compassion. Sometimes when you're just thinking about yourself, you forget about
is Starbucks open?
other people.
Yeah,
Of course they are.
When?
Drive-through.
You can drive through all day long.
No, all right, thank you. I didn't know. That's new information.
The heavens have opened. We have found the heart of God.
I thought I was going to lead us astray, and apparently everyone is leading us astray. The second aspect of the heart of God is we want to concentrate on some words that maybe have something to do with it, like revival, awakening, revelation, increase, because God is always increasing, or the exact opposite of what God is not like is stagnant.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. It's a good word.
And unmoving, because He's always moving. And so, in looking at that, Liza, how do you see the heart of God in that reflection?
Well, I mean, when I was spending time asking the Lord specifically, just like, what is your heart? Super clearly.
It's all of this.
Super clearly, I feel like He just kept coming back to being known and to knowing us.
Yeah.
That every motive is drawn first by that.
We have to challenge ourselves, I think, by examining the revivals of history, and that the revivals of history did not start with a group.
Yeah.
It started with someone who carried something,
Right.
and then shared it, and it imparted something, and it just grew until it was supernatural.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty clear that what they carried was a passion for intimacy with God.
Yeah.
I mean, every single revival that we hear about seems to have started with someone saying, wait a minute, in this moment, there is nothing more important than me spending time with God.
That's right.
Hearing His heart for me and hearing His heart for my community.
Right. So you can say, well, what does this really have to do with right now? Well, we have a series of prophetic words, really powerful prophetic words about some things that are supposed to be hitting very shortly.
Yeah.
And the only way that's going to happen is if we're not sitting back waiting for it,
Right.
but if we take it and run with it.
Yeah, me and Dad were kind of talking about that, the idea that if revival in our definition is this amount of people affected this way for this long, we can actually miss what the Lord is doing right now.
That's right.
And it starts what he said with someone encountering something that they are passionate about and how that grows.
Yeah.
And to not actually sit back in this time, but be empowered to go deeper with the Lord so that when we come out of this, it's like fire.
Yeah.
To make some steps where you're purposing to lay hold of something that's bigger than you, and then trying to carry it. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think, so for me, my favorite word is rest. And so many people, when they hear rest,
I like rest.
Yes, rest is good. So many people, when they think of rest, that it feels passive.
Totally.
And obviously, that is not what we're talking about.
That's right.
Because being passive in this time is the worst possible scenario, because that means you've wasted all of this time that we have instead of taking advantage of it.
That's right.
But for me, rest means that coming at it from a responsive position and not a controlling position.
Wow, that's so good.
And so we have an opportunity in this season to remember what's first. And I think that is the way that I remember the heart of God, and is remembering what's first and making sure that I put God first. What does that mean? It means that going to Him so that I have something to respond to.
Right. That's right.
And seeking Him out and saying, God, what are you saying? What are you doing? What are you trying to communicate to me and to my family and to my community in this season, so that I can respond to that?
Yeah.
And that's for me where my rest looks like.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to throw that out in a different way. As a senior pastor here, I'd really like to say really the challenge that we have to our body, to each of us, is that if we believe the prophetic words that are coming, then we have to be doing something different in which we are purposing to connect with the things of God that are above, and revival is always above and beyond what we have. If you've been having this much, revival is a lot more than that in whatever area.
Right.
And so if that is, and it has to be done from a position of rest. It has to be done from a position of following
Yes.
and not trying to initiate. So if what we believe, Liza, is coming about, what do you do? What do we do? What would you personally do to catch? And then how do you hold on to it? And then we want to talk about how do we share it?
Well, I think like specifically in this time, it's important that your perspective is in check. Because I think that has a lot to do with how you're going to connect with the Lord. Are you being stolen from in this time?
Oh, wow.
Are you powerless to what's happening?
Define the stolen from.
Missed opportunities, missed engagements with family, missed work, and maybe you're a small business owner and you're being affected this way. Like that creates, if we allow it to fester, such
That's
a
so
bitterness.
good. That is so good.
That will steal connection from the Lord.
Or maybe you're at home and you're working 80 hours a week.
Right.
And you're the only one working.
Right.
And you feel like the rest that everybody else is getting, you're being denied that. It's that same concept of this is a time in which it's not okay, something is being taken. Something is being taken from me. I see myself as a victim.
And so what I'm not saying is to like ignore your feelings.
Right.
What you're experiencing doesn't matter. But what I am saying is like in acknowledging them and taking it to the Lord, He will offer you an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that is a change of perspective. And
Totally.
I think that when we come to the Lord and say
so
like,
good.
wow, this is actually a gift that I get to have this extra time
That's
and
good.
show me the ways that for me specifically that this is a gift. And what are you doing in this time?
Yeah, that's
And
good.
constantly asking the Lord that, because I think if I try to start revival in my home, that's a pretty tireless work.
And it's dependent on your own arm.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, what am I seeing, not seeing? Like, it's a lot of interpersonal, like studying myself. But if I actually ask the Lord, like, today, what are you showing me? And follow that rabbit trail.
That's so good.
Then I'm going to actually start with something.
I think the premise has to be that if we have an understanding of God, God is always increasing. He's never going back. He's always taking ground. He's never losing ground. He is, no matter what has been shared with you before, there is more to be shared, more to be caught. If you know that is part of the revival attitude, it's challenging you that no matter where you are, there's more. How do you lay hold of that?
Yeah, I guess for me, I see it as, am I renting my time or do I own it?
That's
And I think that so many times when we talk about
I love it.
home ownership, we think that renting is like this waste.
Oh, totally.
And owning something is
You're investing.
investment.
Yeah.
And it's it's the same thing, right? It's a roof over my head.
Yeah.
Either way, it's somewhere for me to live, and it's a blessing no matter what. But so many times when we think about renting, it's like I'm throwing money at something that's never going to go away.
For future.
And it'll never benefit me.
Exactly. Whereas so one of the ways I've been looking at it is with my home, the amount of work that I have been able to accomplish in this time has been incredible. And like honestly, like I was literally getting in the car yesterday to go to a staff meeting and thinking about my backyard and some of these projects that I've been trying to accomplish for a really long time and been like, wow, this is awesome. And like, could I have done this when we were working? Yeah, of course. And what got in the way? A million different things. But I have been so blessed with this time and the opportunity to take advantage of some things that I haven't taken advantage of up till now, that for me, this has been an investment. And so what are you doing in your life to invest in this season instead of renting this time?
Yeah. And the truth is I know people that own their home.
Yeah.
And they might as well be renting.
Yeah, it's true.
because they don't care about it.
Yeah, they're not investing.
It isn't something that they believe is going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of times we can have a relationship with God, but we really don't care. We're saying He has invested in me. I'm so glad of what Jesus did. The Holy Spirit's walking with me. Thank you, goodness. But I'm not. The only way that revival. Pete, we've heard of this, and I don't know because we really haven't been involved in a significant revival in our lifetime. But there have been people in revivals who have missed it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Missed
totally.
the entire revival while it's going on, and they're in the midst of it.
Right.
And it simply is a perspective of, first I have to catch it, and then I have to be willing to carry it and run with something that is bigger than me, believing that God wants to do more.
Yeah.
If we're about to say one of the greatest revivals the United States has ever known,
Yeah.
things have to change. What does that mean for me?
Yeah.
It was fascinating last night. You know, Mom and I have been going through some things and challenges of being in the same cabin for the same amount of time for a long period of time. It just draws up some things. And I'm done painting. And if she talks about the word painting again, I don't want to talk about painting. And so we were just going through some things. And I was laying in bed and I put my earphones on and a song came on. And I started worshiping and I just fell apart.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I realized that I have been able to keep myself pretty occupied. And in
Yeah.
doing so, I've occupied him out.
Wow. That's so good. That's so good.
That's huge.
And I think so many of us look at, unintentionally maybe sometimes, our life on earth as waiting
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the opportunity to be where I really want to be.
Mom and I talked about that then 20, 30 years ago. It was all about the rapture.
Oh,
Let's get
yeah,
out of this
exactly.
place.
That's right.
And now it's really, how do I bring heaven to this place?
That's right. And that's what investment is. And so
Yeah.
we get the opportunity every day, whether we're in pandemic or not, to invest in and believe that I'm actually building something right now.
That's right.
And not just waiting for when I'm in heaven, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm actually building something right now. What am I building? I'm building the kingdom of God.
That's right.
I'm building people who get to have relationship with God. I'm investing into a harvest
Yeah.
that the Lord says is his point, is his goal.
That's right.
So many times we forget that he's told us what our job is,
Yeah.
right? It's to make disciples of every nation, to heal the sick, to cast out demons. Our job is to introduce people to God.
That's it. And you can't
Because really,
yeah.
he's the one that does all that stuff anyways, right?
I can't share something I don't know.
That's
I can't
right.
introduce someone into something I've never experienced. You know, one of the things that I did some investigating on revivalists because I thought, what an extremely unusual concept. Didn't really understand that from any perspective until we started connecting with Bethel. And really, revivalists become revivalists because they study revivals. And in other words, if you want to be a heart surgeon, you study operations on the heart. If you want to know how revivals work, you begin to look at what happened, what wrecked people so much that it became an explosion and a revival. And in doing so, what happens is they catch it.
Yeah.
So I'm starting. You can read the Bible. You can go on Google and say revivals in the Bible, and those tell you stories in the Bible. But you can go and get small mini books online or whatever about revivalists. If you start to read them, whatever you read, whatever you take in, begins to get in you and grow.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And I would say that a huge requirement in this, though, is that you don't just become a student.
That's right.
Because that's something that I think I fall into.
There has to be a lab.
At times where I learn a lot about things instead of interacting with material.
You
'Cause
read
it's-
it and then say, how do I do that today? You read it and then say, how do I do that today?
Exactly, and catch the heart of what you're learning instead of like learning a bunch of stuff. I mean, I talk about this in my early life as a believer. I felt like I was a historian. I learned a lot about God and could teach you about Him, but it's not the same thing as introducing you to Him.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Is for me, it's more about like how can I ignite a passion for the Lord. And
Yes.
if you are a history buff, which
Yes.
we happen to be sitting at this table, we enjoy learning
right.
about
That's right.
the past, and so then maybe grabbing a book of revivalists would stir that passion. If you sound like that is the worst afternoon you've ever had, then like put on worship music or like do whatever it is
Yeah.
that you connect with the Lord, because the point is that a passion would be ignited.
A
Yes.
passion every athlete has to have it.
Right.
If you're an amazing athlete and you don't have it, you're worthless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the objective is to actually accomplish something. So every athlete believes, all right, they threw the ball that fast, I got to throw it farther. I can win more games. Whatever it is a healthy, appropriate aspect, I believe, of God. God really is an athlete in everything. He says, run the race always with your eyes fixed on Him. My eyes are fixed on Jesus. Jesus never fails. He never drops the ball. So He's always inspiring me for. How would you do that?
Well, I think it was interesting when I was writing and asking the Lord, it came up like this idea of the goal being discipleship, and he specifically said it's only when you believe that my goal was just to walk with you that you will ever be inspired to share it with someone else.
Yeah.
Like if your goal is
Wow, that is
numbers,
so good.
if your goal is souls, if you're like however you phrase it or look at it, like that's a job.
Yeah.
It becomes something you have to do. But he was kind of communicating to me like, hey, when you believe that you can just be inspired by this love of getting to know me and me knowing you, and when that freedom is manifested in your life, that is when you will be inspired to tell your neighbor.
Yeah, wow. That's
Because
so good.
because then it's your life. It's
That's
not
right.
just something that you do on Saturdays.
And I'm not doing it in order to tick off the 3 people that I'm supposed to talk to on this list of I am an evangelist
Right.
every month. It's something that I don't care how many it is. The point is that I've created something that is not a works mentality,
Right.
but a heart desire.
And then that's how you can disciple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I first have to have fallen in love. I have to have
that's so good.
been changed.
Give something I didn't have before.
So-
Because otherwise I'm just like religion. Like
Yeah.
I'm just telling
Wow,
people
yeah.
about a God because I feel like I'm supposed to, and if I don't, then what?
Yeah.
So I first have to open myself up, and even if in this time, if you're like, I have literally no idea what that looks like.
Yeah.
Sit in a room by yourself and just say, Lord, I'm trying to be open with you, and he will show up.
That's
And it
so
will
good.
be a really cool thing that happens and that grows. It doesn't have to be extravagant or whatever.
I remember you were talking to me about how you were asking the Lord, and you were saying, Lord, how does revival, how does revelation, how does an awakening look like for me today? And first of all, I never would have said something like that to God. But if I believe that he'll talk to me, if I ask him, then he's going to begin to give me phrases and ideas and thoughts that are inconsistent with my normal life, that challenge me to begin to live more on the edge of what is about to happen rather than resting in what has.
That's right. That's right. So we have an opportunity. If you're in Michigan, you probably have at least 2 more weeks, right? Where we are in this place of who knows what's happening, who knows what's going on.
And then
if you're in a
after.
different, yeah, exactly. And if you're in a different part of the world, who knows what you're experiencing right
But
now.
everyone in the world is experiencing something.
Yeah. So we have an opportunity in this season to respond
Totally.
On purpose.
and intentionally go after the heart of God.
That's right.
And it's going to look a million different ways for you, but it starts with believing that he's real,
That's right.
believing that he wants to talk to you,
Yeah.
and believing that he's good and he cares about
That's
you
right.
in this season.
Asking him for more.
That's right. So take some time this week and seek the heart of God. Whether you're where Eliza was at, where you're like, hey, maybe this is the first time for you.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And you're sitting in a room by yourself and
Yeah.
saying, okay, God, I know you want to talk to me. I know you're good. I know you love me. What are you saying right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe you've been doing this your
Yeah.
whole life
Yeah.
and just need to remember that
Yeah.
he's in the book,
That's right.
Amen.
that he's in the worship,
Yeah.
That's right.
Totally.
that he's in your rest in this season. But don't get so distracted by loneliness or depression or fear or frustration or
That you miss it.
a million projects that are going on around your house
Yeah.
that you miss what he's saying to you in this season.
That's so good.
Remember the heart of God and
That's
that
so
he
good.
cares about you.
Yeah, let me share this with you. Let me encourage you with this as we close. God is about to do something that he's never done before.
Yes.
There's a revival and awakening that is about to hit this nation, about to hit this world that you have never seen.
Come on.
You may have read about, but you've never seen.
Yeah.
How are you going to make room for that? How are you
That's
going to
so
prepare for that? Ask Jesus. Jesus, something's about to happen. What am I supposed to do? I
Yeah.
promise you, he's going to tell you.
Amen.